don't look at it through someone else's eyes. Because I think that the biggest mistake we all make within the course of time is we are so busy letting somebody else look at our dream and telling us what it is. How do they see your dream? It's your dream. Look at it through your own eyes. Don't see it.
Welcome to Beyond the Business Plan. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your guide on this journey to success. We will explore the inspiring stories of visionary leaders and groundbreaking entrepreneurs and unveil the tools and strategies that can empower you to manage your business from anywhere in the world. Join me, LeAnn, as we learn, laugh, and take the leap towards unleashing your joyful business journey. And let's make it happen now. Welcome to Beyond the Business Plan, the ultimate adventure in leadership and entrepreneurship. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your guide on this journey to success. Twice a week, we will explore the inspiring stories of visionary leaders and groundbreaking entrepreneurs and unveil the tools and strategies that can empower you to manage your business from anywhere in the world. Whether you're embarking on a new entrepreneurial adventure or injecting fresh energy into an existing one, Beyond the Business Plan is your source and community for the insights and inspiration you need to thrive. Join me, LeAnn, as we learn, laugh, and take the leap towards unleashing your joyful business journey. And let's make it happen right now. My guest today is the word whisperer with 2 decades of radio industry experience. She created and hosted 3 #1 rated radio morning shows, beating her competition, including, wait for it, Steve Harvey by double digits. Now, you do have to be a certain age to know Steve Harvey, but if you don't know him, you need to check out, But she beat him out. This is amazing. She had done television news reporting, written and voiced commercials nationwide, has shared her knowledge with students teaching at Central Missouri State University in the broadcasting department, and she's a podcast host, media trainer, keynote speaker, professional MC, Amazon best-selling author, and magazine contributor. Wow. She has created the messaging to launch celebrity product lines. She has narrated #1 best-selling books and has raced the world's longest nonstop kayak and canoe race, not once, but 3 times. She is the founder of Speaking with Share, a communication strategy and consultation service using customized connection techniques that will take your voice and your message from the invisible to the invincible. Sheral DeVaughn, are you there?
I'm going to go ahead and hire you, LeAnn, to always, always make me sound that good. Somebody
Oh.
asks me about all of that stuff, and I usually just say, I have a career of being full of hot air. That's what it comes down to.
Well, what did we miss in that introduction?
Nothing. My goodness, there were
Oh.
things that I learned.
My goodness. And where in the world do you hail from? Where are
Well,
you?
these days I spend most of my time in the Kansas City, Missouri metro area. But I mean, you'll find me in Denver, you'll find me just about anywhere.
You love to travel?
I do love to travel. I enjoy it thoroughly. One of the things that I would love to do is take my husband next time with me to Alsace in France. It's right on the border between Germany, Switzerland, and France, and it is one of the most magical, beautiful places in the world. You see the Black Forest.
Mm.
You're on the Grand Cru vineyards. Cobblestones. It's stunning. You've got, the rivers that are coming through. It's just, I have never been to a more magical place in my life.
Oh, wow. I had the blessing of going to Greece when I was in college, and that's kind of how I felt, that sea, that color. I'm such a water person,
Oh, yeah,
totally a water person. And
absolutely.
yeah, just I felt that way too. Black Forest, that's funny. My very first paycheck that I ever earned as a teacher, I took my parents and my then boyfriend, now almost 30 years married, to a restaurant called the Black Forest right
Lovely. Well,
here
it must have
in
been a good one
Minneapolis.
if you went from boyfriend to husband.
It
So
was a good
must have been
one.
a good dinner.
He's a, it was a good dinner, and he's a very good man. And I do appreciate him. And you've had, but outside of the canoeing and kayaking, what other things do you enjoy?
What other things do I enjoy? I love music. We
Okay.
spend a lot of time going to concerts of all types. Music has always been integral. Big with animals. I do some fundraising for an animal rescue group here in the area, always and forever. Um, I've got 3 fur babies of my own that
Yeah.
were all rescues. Spent a lot of time with the kids and my grandbaby, teaching
Oh,
him all the finer things of getting outdoors. That's the biggest thing. Is I like to spend a lot of time outdoors when I have to be stuck inside, music, reading, that sort of thing.
yeah. It almost looks like you could be outdoors right now. Anybody listening to the podcast, you're welcome to come on over to the show on YouTube or other platforms and see this beautiful woman. She does have almost looks like a barn door behind her. It looks like the sun is shining down on her hair, and it's just lovely. So it's very
It's
fun.
all good lighting and background.
It's
I've
just
got
all
a
good lighting in the background.
I like to decorate in that very rustic outdoor theme throughout
Mm,
the home. So my studio, it looks like I'm out in the barn, but I'm not.
beautiful. So I heard you say you do a lot right now with, it sounds like you like to donate. You work with animal rescue and different things like that.
I do.
Something that came across recently, I was listening to people who are successful, as you are, often don't just lay around. They reach their level of success, whatever that means, whether it's number of lives touched, the number of dollars made, but specifically people who've made some money and can afford to take their husband to France or whatever. They don't just sit around. They find ways to invest into their community or their passions. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely. And it makes sense to me that a measure of success is in what you can give back. I wouldn't be I wouldn't have any level of success. And like I said, like you touched on, everyone has a different idea of what success looks like. For me, I wouldn't have my level of success had it not been for people taking the time to invest in me. And it's that give back. Plus, in giving, and whether it's monetarily, whether it's services, whether, roll up your sleeves and get to work, there's always the opportunity to learn. And I don't believe that we ever get to that, or we shouldn't. This is my philosophy. We should never get to that point where we're comfortable
Yeah.
and we don't think we need to learn anymore. No one's that brilliant and smart that there isn't something more to learn that can enhance your business, enhance your relationships, enhance your life, period.
Right.
And so for me, that giving back is almost a gift back to myself too, because there's so much to learn in those situations from different people and events.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to do something so simple as investing your time, or maybe some of your finances? Yeah, people, they need it, but you get more when you really show up and you invest your time and yourself in the endeavors.
Yeah. Well, 20 years in radio means you're at least 30 years old. And so,
Yeah,
um,
22 years in radio. I started when I was 12. We'll go with
right.
that.
We'll
that's
do
that's what we'll
that.
do.
Sure. And with that. I mean, I actually had another thought there, and then I just went out of my head, but I thought I was funny. But I do think we reach a certain point and a certain stage in our entrepreneurial journey where it's not just about giving back, but also that we start to see our former selves and that opportunity to help our former selves. Is that who you serve?
Do I serve my former self?
Hmm.
I think my former self serves me right now.
Oh,
What's
beautiful.
what's funny is most people, they always want to get away from their past, but their
Mm,
past is that foundational step. And there is so much to be learned from that past self. I think it becomes a partnership because I can look back and see what I did wrong maybe in the past, and I don't even know that I want to use the word wrong. What I maybe would do differently now,
sure.
because if I hadn't done it that way in the past, I wouldn't have the experience and the life lessons in order to maybe handle it a little differently and have a little more success for now. I found that I'm coming full circle back to that little child growing up or that young adult in high school and college, the one that still had all of the dreams,
Mm,
and recognizing, okay, here are your dreams. Here we go. We can be anything you want to be right now. Thank you for reminding me of what was important, what we wanted our legacy to be, and showing me the steps on how to get there and maybe not how to get there. Don't do some of those same things again. So I
right.
think it's a partnership. It's not so much that I serve the past or the past serves me. I think we serve each other.
It's fascinating. I have done years of these interviews with entrepreneurs, and one of my favorite questions to ask sometimes surprises them, and sometimes, like you just already addressed it, um, is already integrated with it. And that is going back to who were you, Sheral, when you were, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old? Now, that was a different time and place in history as well. We had more freedom, more availability to just get out into the world, I think, than kids do today. But who were you? What did you play? What was your creative play at that
I
age?
I had a little I probably had a little bit of a um different life growing up than some.
Mm,
We had a very dysfunctional family,
mm,
and growing up, the girls in our family, um, we weren't supposed to be seen. We weren't supposed to be heard. We were supposed to be there to support the men and the
mm.
boys. We weren't supposed to worry about the education, basically get in the kitchen, make a sandwich. And I didn't get that memo. So there were some issues. I remember being 6 and 7 and throwing myself into theater and into my schooling, even at that young age, grabbing a book and disappearing. For me, it was a matter of what can I do? What steps can I take to get out of this and make certain I don't have to continue in this same pattern. One of the things, ironically, I got for Christmas in my 7th birthday, and I'm dating myself. So you'll know I'm not actually just, 34. Um, I got what was a close and play record player that would play the 45, vinyl records. I had a close and play. I had a bunch of records, a hairbrush, and about 400 stuffed animals. And I would DJ. I had a radio in my bedroom that I would listen to, and my best friends were, believe it or not, Wolfman Jack and Casey Kasem.
Mm.
And I believed they were speaking directly to me. So I decided at a very, very young age, 6, 7 years old, 8, I was going to be the next one. I was going to be the next Wolfman Jack, the next Casey Kasem. What I didn't know, and Casey Kasem for the younger, again, I'm dating myself. Casey Kasem was the original voice of Scooby Doo and was the original weekly top 40 before Ryan Seacrest was a glimmer in his mama's eye.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I didn't realize back then was women, much like within my family, um, they weren't supposed to have those positions. Again, I didn't get that memo. Women in radio, when I got into it, were the giggle box sidekick. They were the news girl. They were the arm candy for the male hosts. And I've never been one to, take a back seat to anyone. So it was a learning curve, a struggle. But that's what I was doing. I was riding the bike or you know dishing up the music for the stuffed animals with my hairbrush and the close and play record and that sort of thing, along with theater and yeah, just being outside always.
Well, you just proved my point. You really did. My
I
point
did.
is, you did. My point is, you have found joy in entrepreneurship doing exactly or very closely related to exactly what you played when you were a child.
Mhm.
And sometimes people don't realize that. And I mean, sometimes people just had never made the connection between that child and who they are happiest as an adult. I'm also aware that when I was a child, I played school. I created worksheets. I taught. I still do that. And I became a teacher for a time in a classroom. I still teach. I just don't teach in a classroom. But we use those skills, those desires, I believe, and in my faith journey, are seeded into us long before we're even a twinkle in our parents' eyes, to use your phrase. So it's fun, I think, when if somebody's listening to us, and we'll get to this too, and they're thinking, but I don't know what to do. I would direct them back to go back to what you loved before people told you what to do, before people told you what you were worth, before you decided on a career to make money. Who were you before? And as a child. Now that would be my advice. Do you have any advice how would if somebody's struggling like I want to become an entrepreneur but I don't know what to do, what would you say to them?
It's funny you ask, because when I talk to some of my clients and they say I don't know what to do, the question, and I learned this question from um, a coach and mentor of mine, is, but if you did know, what would it be?
Yes.
And when you're, it's funny how often when I ask that question to a client, okay, I get it, I know you don't know, but if you did know, what would it be? Without thinking, they'll answer. They're not up front, so in their head thinking. It comes from your subconscious. The things that you have always loved. You've just buried it under years and years and years of people telling you what you should do and what you should be. What brings you profound joy. I think it stays buried mostly because we're afraid of what other people will think. It's time to let go of that fear, because at the end of the day, the only person you're truly with is yourself. Your dreams can't be seen through someone else's eyes. You've got to use your own. You know what that answer is. So
Right.
if you don't know, ask yourself, but what if I did? What would it be?
And I highly encourage you to find the modality to figure that out. For some people, they can sit and they can think. Some people, like me, I have to write it out. It has to go on ink and paper. Some people can probably type. Some people can maybe talk it out with their Otter app or whatever the case is. But find your thing. I had a long conversation with AI on Saturday about, well, quite frankly, this podcast and other things, just going back and forth with that for some people, especially people our ages, that's like, what? But it was a very healthy conversation.
That I think
Um,
the thing you talked about with the different modalities,
yeah,
the one consistent piece for all of those different modalities is stop thinking so much and just let it flow.
let it flow.
Yeah, and that's where you'll find your answer.
I believe so too. Similarly, you got your dream. You went into radio. So I'm assuming you didn't own the radio station?
Oh no, they
Oh,
owned me.
no.
They
And so,
owned me.
right.
Yes,
And
they
then at
did.
some point, you decided to become an entrepreneur, and that's a different animal. So, what was that like making that shift? Did it happen overnight? Did it happen because of a reason? What's your story from shifting?
It's fun. I wrote a book about it,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, there you go. What's
The
the name of the
frog.
book?
It is the frog in your throat. I've got it right there.
There you go.
The frog in your throat. It's an unconventional primer for leaping life's journeys or life's hurdles. I'm sorry, and you go through your journey. But um, I went through the first morning show. They let me go after we had a number one morning show because they wanted to bring the old co-host back.
Mm.
She had left. The morning show partner that I had wanted her back, and so there was a campaign. It was a campaign to get me out, to make
Mm.
me go away. But they did it in such a way. I was in my young 20s at the time, and they they tried to shame me. They wanted me to think I had zero talent, that I had no ability. Well, if that was the case, well, why did you hire me for your morning show that ended up being number one? Um, they did all of these things and made me believe, well, attempted to make me believe I had no ability. So they unceremoniously fired me, but I was smart enough in the moment to ask them, since I obviously was no threat and I had no talent, could you release the non compete clause so I could go to some little farm community and maybe practice being the news girl there, which fed into that whole mindset. They gave it to me, and 3 months later, I was across the street at their competitor, and for the first time in 20 plus years, they had to move to the number two position because my morning show went number one.
Oh, that
I
had
would
to
have,
feel so good.
I did send them a sympathy card because I was a little spiteful at the time, um, you know, to grieve their loss of the number one position. That was a bit catty, but I was in my 20s. Go figure. Um, I don't know that I would have left that spot for a long time, but my husband is military and we
Mm.
were being transferred. So the second morning show, my second number one morning show, I I left because of his position. Um, Ended up doing different radio show day parts while we were transferred. And then we ended up going back. And lo and behold, the station that I had originally started with, the one that had so unceremoniously fired me, was looking for a morning show co host again. Completely, completely different group, except that the co host was the guy who originally campaigned to get rid of me, the morning show co host. Suddenly, he was a big fan. And I got in, and without my knowledge, he got fired. He blamed me, thinking it was retribution. It was not.
Mm.
But you move on. I left there eventually because corporate tends to eat you up and uses you up. The better you do, the more you're punished for it. And there were some politics at play within the organization. And I just finally said, you know what? My personal well-being, my sanity, my family, they're all more important than this. So I left at the top of my career and took my ball and went home. And then had to really discover who I was after that.
Mm.
Launched a couple of different things, went into the wine and spirits industry for a while, uh, did well there. And then one day you wake up and go, why am I still being chewed up, spit out, eaten alive And why am I doing and making all of the success happen for someone else?
Mm.
So at the ripe old age of 50, I decided I would start my own. And that's how the entrepreneurial world happened for me. You don't have to be young and full of energy. You just have to have that desire. It's never too late to start. So
Mm-mm.
I started when I was 50 and built it into something I'm incredibly proud of right now, and it's successful.
Wonderful. I mean, just thank you for the inspiration. I hope so. I know that that story was for many, many, many people to hear.
I hope so.
And, I, at one point, I went through a phase of when we had teenage girls who had a lot of needs and a lot of expenses that Uber was relatively new. Guess who got in a car? And
You were doing Uber for a while there with the girls.
briefly, yep.
Yeah.
And, imagine, right? But it was such a good experience in the sense that, I mean, I had literally conversation after conversation after I was not the silent Uber driver.
No. Oh no.
And
Knowing you, no.
no, no. But I had one gentleman that we were talking for a little bit, and as we got to the destination, he said, "You seem to know a lot about business. I want to start a business. Where do I need to go to school to learn how to start a business?" And my heart just broke for him because I thought, people just make it to be so much harder than it is. You don't get a degree to start a business. I started my first business. I want to hear your first business. My first business probably was going into the creek in the golf course near my house and finding golf balls, sometimes standing on a golf ball until the dollar bill came out of the pocket, or in my case, probably a quarter or a dime. And then miraculously, that golf ball appeared. Um, that was my first business, selling golf balls back to the golfers who had just pitched them into a creek.
The first business I had that wasn't working for someone else, because I did lifeguarding and I had a paper route and all those different things when I was younger. But I think the first business of my own was, as one does, young girls, you babysit. But I
Yeah.
was marketing myself to all of the teachers within the schools I went to, because they knew I was a straight A student. They knew I was involved in, theater, speech, music. I was, I was that girl, and so I marketed to the teachers that not only could they trust me to keep a close eye on their children to keep them safe, but that in the process they knew that if there was homework to be done, I would serve as a bit of a tutor and to help them, make certain that the work was done. And if they were struggling with it, I was good for teaching them how to get through it and learn it and maybe up their grades, to the point where the superintendent went ahead and had hired me to babysit his kids. Every principal in town, the superintendent, half the teachers, I was the gal. They would call me first, and I had a waiting list for a while.
Well played.
That
Well
was
played. You
Yeah.
were marketing before you knew what well, I mean, you
I was
obviously,
marketing before I knew what marketing actually
that's what I was
was.
gonna say, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
for real. Wow, that's impressive. And similarly, what advice would you give to that person who's thinking, well, I'm just not, I need to know more or do more. What real first step would you offer?
The real first step is to ask yourself, what do you love?
Hmm.
And when we go back to the I don't know, well, if you did know, what would it be? When I launched this business originally, and now I blew it up and relaunched it about a year and a half after I started, because it wasn't fulfilling. I launched it originally based upon what I thought I was supposed to be doing and by what other people had told me I would be good at doing. And it didn't work. I hated it.
Mm.
So when I relaunched, I had to sit back and think, okay, what are the things that I love? Well, I loved doing radio. Why did I love doing radio? Thought about the reasons why I loved that. What did I love about being in the wine and spirits industry for as many years as I was? Thought about those things. What do I still love to do? What parts of my personality would I love to showcase? I'm a little quirky. I like some of the weird and crazy out there things. And then I sat back and went, how do I combine all of these things? I don't see the pattern. And that's where a good mentor, a good friend, even AI, whether you're going to chat GPT, can help you spot those patterns and maybe see how it all fits together. There's the old saying, I can't see the forest for the trees. Well, when you're in the middle of that forest, you can't. It's somebody that's outside the forest. That's where you get your help to see that pattern that you might miss otherwise. And when I started looking at it and had a mentor of mine start pointing out the patterns, it's all within connection and communication. Every single, it's like this, it's like a wheel, like a bicycle wheel. The main theme, my hub, is that connection, communication piece. But there are all these different spokes that come off of the hub to turn the wheel. And so where you might not see how they all fit together, there is that pattern there. When you discover what that pattern is, that's where you take your first step to launch into your successful entrepreneurial career.
And when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. This sounds like a really great place for us to take a quick little break. We'll be back in 15 seconds or so, and I can't wait to hear more. Hey, coffee aficionados and sales-setting entrepreneurs. Are you craving that caffeine kick, but looking for a healthier alternative? Dive into the lifestyle tab at joyminder.com, where we've curated the ultimate collection of energizing options to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit without the jitters. Discover your next favorite pick-me-up today and keep your business dreams brewing strong. Hear what it did for me by visiting joyminder.com. That's joyminder.com/lifestyle, because your peak performance deserves more than just another cup of joe. Sheral, we are back, and I am just fascinated with what we've been talking about. We've talked about starting our journeys, continuing our journeys, and of course, once you decide to become an entrepreneur, it's a golden road. It paves out beautifully exactly as you plan it to go. No adversity, nobody shutting you down. You never get offended. You never have a challenge. No pivots, right?
That road, that golden road that you just described, at best is made of cobblestone. At worst, it is the interstate portion where they close it down every summer for all the potholes, and it just lasts for months and months, and you are swerving to avoid destroying the underside of your vehicle. That's what
Excellent
that road
analogy.
looks like.
Excellent analogy.
Yeah, that's the worst end. Like I said, best end is cobblestone.
Yeah.
Either way, you're still going to get, as long as you take the road and keep driving, you're going to get to your destination.
Indeed.
That's the important thing to remember. It's going to be bumpy, but you're going to get there.
Yeah. How do you handle adversity, though? I mean, it happens. You get, well, you did it when you were in your early 20s. That is tough to do that in your early 20s, the adversity of what you did with the radio shows. But as a, I just about said as adults, but yes, you were an adult then. You were an adult then, technically. And But as business owners too, we're going to come up against people who think that we are competing with them. We're probably not, because even when you're doing a very similar thing to somebody else, there's 80% might be the same, but 20% is style. And as you got a 20% style difference, you're not doing the same thing. So how do you handle those situations though?
I when I see somebody who has a lot of overlap with
Yeah.
me, the one thing that I remind myself, and if need be, I will share with that other person, is the biggest difference is we're not the same person. So we're not going to approach everything in the exact same way. And that's okay.
Mhm.
There's not the way of doing things.
Yeah.
There's many ways. Which one works for you?
Yeah.
And so again, it goes back to your style piece. If there's, I mean, there's plenty of room at the table for everyone. There really is.
Really is.
And those people that are
Mhm.
competing with me, I don't I don't feel it's a competition, but if they feel that there's a competition happening, the people that they're looking for probably are not the same ones that I'm looking for. We're going to connect in different places with different people. And maybe eventually, let's say, Joe over here, he does what I do, but he does it differently.
Yeah.
And let's say I've got a client, maybe Joe's going to be a better fit in the short term or in the present, but later on down the road, they may have grown and adapted and they need something different. And I come into play, or vice versa. One of my clients may be the perfect fit right now, but as they start figuring out that cobblestone path that we talked about, they may decide they need some of the strengths and knowledge and experience that Joe has to offer.
Mhm.
So there's room for all of us here, and
100%.
and there's no need to freak out or be greedy about it, or what.
Yeah.
It all comes when you start focusing on, I need this one and I need this one and I need this one. You stop focusing on what you do have, because we always know, I mean, reticular activation
Activate.
system,
Yep.
what you focus on is what you get. If you're focusing on, I don't have enough, I need more, you won't have enough, you won't get more. And the ones that you do have, you're not giving them the best of you, because you're too busy chasing after that that person you don't even know, that thing you've never come across. Focus on what you've got and keep attracting more of that,
Yes.
and it all comes into play.
I do say there's eight now, I think officially 8 billion people in the world. And I'm pretty sure that even if all of them were my ideal client, which they aren't, I couldn't serve them all. Even if
No.
a 1/10 of them, I could not serve them all, and nor should I, because I won't be the right fit for even the people I could serve. Not all of them. And so, honestly, I think that collaboration, finding people where you can do the referrals across, finding the right fit. In fact, with Joyminder Solutions, we do that. We say, look, here is the tool that we use. But if it's not the right tool for you, here's another alternative. Or here's the person that we recommend. But if that person doesn't fit you, maybe, let us know. We know a lot of people. We can fit you up with another coach, another connection, if you will, business
Mm-hmm.
ideas too. So it is all about finding the fit and finding the right connection for the person and not getting, I'm going to use the word offended.
Exactly.
Do you get
And
offended?
no, not when it comes to business like this. I get frustrated sometimes when you've got those individuals that want to undermine you
Yeah.
because they feel like you're a competitive threat. And for me, it's disheartening and frustrating, because there is enough to go around, and I want to work with
Yeah.
each of them. I want to find a way to collaborate. I don't believe one size fits all. That's why, it's like when you go to Baskin Robbins, that's why there's 31 flavors. It's something for everyone. And what you may want, on a Tuesday is going to be a little different than what you decide to get on Thursday. And that's fine. That's why
And
there's
what's
so
your
many
flavor? I
flavors.
got to ask now, what's your
What's
flavor?
my flavor? Oh gosh, what would be my flavor? Recently it's been like a blackberry fudge thread. I don't do sugar and dairy very often, especially
Yeah.
when I'm training for racing season. But I, you know, I guess that anything chocolate mint, chocolate peanut butter, chocolate berry. There's a theme there. There's a lot of chocolate in my world if I'm going to go that direction.
Years ago, I decided that ice cream in general, ice cream sugar was not in my best interest.
Uh-huh.
So I limited it down. I said only if they have chocolate peanut butter, where chocolate's the primary. There's some out there
Uh,
that are peanut butter with chocolate, but nope. It has to be the
right.
chocolate base with a real peanut butter. That is the one time I will break down and have a little bit once in a while. And it's
Yeah.
amazing when you narrow your choices down, how easy it is to say no to the other things out there. Is there a business analogy in that?
I think there's a huge business analogy in there. You don't have to take on everything. It's one of the biggest lessons you will learn as you are on your entrepreneurial journey is the power of no. You have to be able to say no, even to your clients, the ones you've decided are the ones you serve. You have to be able to set boundaries and say no. It makes things so much easier for you when you know what you're willing to put up with and what you aren't, and there's no question. People, the people that you're supposed to be with aren't going to be upset with that. They're going to respect you more, but you don't burn out then, and you don't find yourself juggling 1,500 plates all on that one stick trying to keep them spinning. They're going to crash if you don't learn the power of no and narrowing things down.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I have one more question for you
Okay, I'm
before we
ready.
wrap this up. But before I do that, how can people get in touch with Sheral? Where do they look online? And you may wish to spell things, remembering that many people will be listening.
Absolutely. I am easy to find. I'm all over social media, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find me at Speaking with Share. And Share is spelled Sher instead of Cher because, quite honestly, she sings a whole lot better than I do. So it's Sher, Speaking with Share. You can find me at my website, which is speakingwithshare.com, or you can email me at Sher, at speakingwithshare.com. I keep it simple. And I respond to all of my own messages. I don't believe that you should have to speak to a bot or somebody else. If you take your time, which is the most valuable asset you have, if you take your time and reach out to me, I will respond personally.
Yes. And as we've covered, you do a lot of things. Your primary business right now is
Primary business is focusing on your brand voice and brand message so that you can create the most visibility and impact. We take your voice from invisible to invincible.
wonderful. Beautiful. Well, then my question,
Yes.
if you could give one more piece of advice to someone just starting their entrepreneurial journey, what would it be? Maybe they're not, maybe they're still a burned out professional. Let's say they got that 20-year-old, they got that teaching job or that radio job when they were 20, their dream job, but they're burned out. And they have had that calling, that longing inside of them that says, I want more. I have this urge, this desire, this dream. What would you tell them?
Don't let somebody don't let I think that how do I want to phrase this? It is your dream. Don't look at it through someone else's eyes. because I think that's the biggest mistake we all make within the course of time is we are so busy letting somebody else look at our dream and telling us what it is. How do they see your dream? It's your dream. Look at it through your own eyes. Don't see it through someone else's.
Love that. Anybody listening, I was just making heart symbols with my hands. I have a little tear in my eye. I mean, this is just beautiful. Sheryl, I cannot thank you enough for being here today. Should we tell them our little secret?
I think we should. First of all, thank you so much for being such a gracious host and inviting me to come on. This is a gift, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you for sharing your time um, and allowing me to spend time with you and, with you as you're watching or listening. Um, that I don't take that lightly. But yeah, we do have a little bit of a secret, don't we?
And this has been a blessing. And as you're part of this very beginning of the Beyond the Business Plan, you're one of my very first episodes. This is just truly an honor to have it be you because it turns out we only reconnected. Was it just last year? Maybe
Just
just
last year.
exactly last year, like
Yeah.
this time of last year.
Uh-huh.
But we knew each other when we were in college.
We lived next. We
We
were in the
lived
rooms next door to each other.
next door to each other.
We we dated roommates.
It's true.
we
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 dated
did.
roommates.
We spent more time together than I may have spent with some of my own family members. And then we we lost one another, and I had always wondered what happened to you. I missed you. I didn't know how to connect with you again uh, through a series of events. Life happens, and it was ironic because it was through a mutual connection of ours. She was discussing this brilliant woman that she knew and collaborated with, and said the name, and then gave your social media profile. And I went to it and looked and went, unless she's got a doppelganger out there, this looks like my buddy LeAnn, you know? Um, and which is funny that I always call you LeAnn because there's no E at the end of
Nope.
LeAnn,
And
but it's
nobody ever calls me that.
no,
Never,
it's just
ever.
just me because I'm ridiculous. So I reached out to this mutual contact, this mutual friend of ours, and said, "Hey, she wouldn't happen to be from Minnesota, would she?" And I think so. Yeah. Do you happen to know where she went to college? I don't. So I just sat back and went, I think I know her, and sent you this message. Just this was you had put up a public post on
Yeah.
Facebook asking for some sort of a memory, a trip down memory lane, or something that
Sure.
you could picture. And I started waxing poetically about Christ Chapel at Gustavus Adolphus
Mm,
College to
indeed.
see to see if it was you
Yeah.
indeed. And you reached back out and went, huh, I went to Gustavus. And I went, yeah, I know. I kind of figured. And that's all of a sudden we jumped
How
on a
we
call,
reconnected.
and it was like going back a few years.
Yeah. A
Just a
few
couple,
indeed.
only a couple.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like we're picking up right where we left off. And I
It,
love that
and
so much.
And truly, I think that's just an amazing, incredible, beautiful, unexpected, and gift that
Yeah.
can truly happen. But both sides have to be open to it.
Mhm.
Just for the listening audience, since you're getting to know me as well, what happened in my senior year is early in the senior year at Gustavus, I had a head injury. I fell off my fell off. I hit a parked car going down a hill on my bicycle, one-handed with a calculus book in my other hand. And
That was a big hill.
that was a big hill, and I was
Yeah.
going really fast. And I just lost control. I hit some sand, lost control, hit a parked car, flew, and woke up barely, airlifted to the Twin Cities Metro and never returned to Gustavus. So, but interestingly, this is back in the early 90s, and there
Yeah.
was no social media. There was no way for people to find out what had happened. And really, there just wasn't now people would jump on and eventually maybe figure it out. But there was no way then.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't know how to contact your parents and figure out what the phone. No, and nobody bothered to tell me. I
no.
never knew what
Mhm.
happened. All of a sudden
Yeah.
one day you just were gone, and went into the college administration office asking, and of course they don't give out,
Personal
the
information.
information.
Yeah.
So I was at a loss.
Yeah.
You just disappeared from
Yeah.
my
No
world, and I
cell
didn't know
phones.
that.
Had no cell phones, no social media. If you didn't have contact information or no, there was just nothing. So,
No.
and it's, so yeah, I mean, I'll just say for anybody out there, if suddenly something we are saying is resonating with you, go find that person. It's possible.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
reconnected, and
Yeah.
maybe that person isn't, maybe it's not possible for everybody. Some people want to stay gone, and that's okay. But I do believe that when a person is put on your heart, especially put on over and over again, there's a reason. I recently put up another post. I was having a rough day, I'll just say, and I said, "Tell me something that I do that I should keep doing." And the response that I got to that post, and then what we've shared just off, and we don't have to go back to it, but things that we did together back at Gustavus, and that um, it was just know who you are, know your true self, and step into that true self. And it goes right back into this entrepreneurial journey. Here we are. There's no chance back there eating our mac and cheese or going to Christ Chapel or whatever we did that we'd ever
Ramen.
imagine we would be here today.
There was a
What's that?
lot of ramen. There was a lot of ramen noodle
A
consumed.
lot of ramen noodle. Absolutely. Well, Sheryl, thank you, thank you, thank you again.
My pleasure.
It's a
Thank you.
blessing to have such a special guest on my show. I'm just like I'm rarely speechless, but I'm feeling that way a little bit right now. But thank you. Just thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Like I said before, it is humbling, and it is not lost on me. Thank you for letting me have your time.
Hmm. And thank you also to our audience for joining us on this show, Beyond the Business Plan, to unleash not our, but your joyful business potential. And remember, entrepreneurship is a voyage you can take with other people. So find your tribe for the journey. And give us a like or subscribe or whatever you do on your favorite podcast or video platform. And keep shining and aligning with your purpose. And with me, LeAnn Lyon. You can find me at leannlyon.com, and also my company, Joy Minder Solutions. And then come on back every week on our new inspiring episodes. And until next time, I'm LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer, signing off. Keep spreading the joy, keep leading with heart, and I will catch you on the next wave of success. Thank you all for joining us today on Beyond the Business Plan. It's been a joy and a privilege to share this space with you. For more inspiring stories, tools, and actionable insights, make sure to follow us on your favorite video platform. Visit my website, leannlyon.com, and keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Thank you all for joining us today on Beyond the Business Plan. It's been a joy and a privilege to share this space with you. For more inspiring stories, tools, and actionable insights, make sure to follow us on your favorite video platform. Visit my website, leannlyon.com, and keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Hey, sales setters, are you ready to jumpstart your entrepreneurial journey or give your business a powerful refresh? Join us at the next and Restart Your Business Summit, where you'll discover the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to thrive. Learn more at joyminder.com. That's JOYMINDER.com, and look for the Restart Your Business Summit icon. Don't miss out. Your future